Winter came too harsh to bear. Said his lives were often spared by native means and ancient ways, wisdom that will never repay. Room for two, collided to one. Arrow steers, black powder guns. Never again they see eye to eye. Paradise lost for either side. And I want to embrace this world on your land. I want to erase these things by your hands. I want to replace all your dreams with all of mine. This is a good example of what I would normally do with a guitar. So in this tuning, I'm dropped my D string down to C, capoed on the 2nd fret. So now this shape is a C shape, but I'm in the key of D. And then the string under it is now an open D because I'm capoed. So that's a D, and then an F sharp in the bass, and G. Now, what to do with the guitar, the harp, right? So you have a D here in the harp. So if you want a longer sustaining note while you're doing those passages, you can choose the harp. Here. And then this bridge part. And then the other trick you have to learn with this is how to mute these strings. You can put your hand here basically the back of your wrist. And while you're doing this passage or any other passage, you can mute with your wrist. That's the hardest part I worked with. So, you know, that's when you first put your hands on a harp guitar, you have to learn how to mute both necks, really. Usually you're doing the harp strings here with your wrist, and then you're muting with left and right hand here. And if you're grabbing these notes, the Timberline has a pretty wide reach. The emerald carbon fiber, the reach isn't as far. So that's a little easier to play when it comes to those low notes. Now, my right hand, my position is, I lead with my thumb like a Jerry Reed. You know, my right hand is kind of similar to that because his thumb is way out front and his fingers are tucked back in. So that's what I'm doing there. So that's part of playing a harp guitar. This is a Timberline harp guitar, and when you first put your hands on a harp guitar, you're not going to be successful. It takes a little getting used to. And I put levers on this, and that's going to be a different video. But the levers, you can flip them and tune half a step one way or the other. So right now, I'm in standard tuning. All right, and then I've got something rattling in there. I think my pickup wire came loose, so you might hear that. So in open position, so you can start to reharmonize things that you would normally just play with a regular guitar. Just because these subs are here doesn't mean you have to use them all the time. You can treat this like a normal guitar. I just recently did a 45-minute set with just harp guitar, and it was terrifying. But you know, you got to start somewhere. So that was the first time I've done a set that long on harp guitar. So it's not just a novelty you pull out, and it makes you think different. So yeah, it's really cool. Now the levers, you can basically change your tuning. So I'm an E, right? Or G, or C, or D, or A. Now depending on the keys you're in, depends on what disaster awaits you if you hit the wrong harp. So then, let's see, if I do G minor, I can do this piece where I'm doing a modulation in the middle. So and then here's the tuning. my dogs here. Your left hand can fill in some of the gaps when you're bouncing back and forth, right? I'm a little out of tune there. I drifted a little bit. I haven't played this guitar this morning yet. So that's the thing about all these strings. You're going to want to warm up a little bit because they'll drift a little bit when you're just coming at it cold. But that's a piece of music that you can use these things and come up with different bass notes that you normally wouldn't come up with. So in that, I wound up going to B flat for that B section. And through the third up top, this is the D from my guitar part. And a flat 2, if we're thinking in G, which is an A flat. An F, flat 7. So when you're in alter tunings on the guitar and you're in a sub-tuning that's weird, it takes a lot of brain power to keep that straight right out of the gate, you know, if you hadn't warmed up on it. So typically, if I'm doing a harp guitar piece, I will warm up on the piece in whatever tuning I'm in to kind of get my head straight and get some things under my fingers, and then try and remember the right bass notes at the right time. And yeah, it's a challenge. But this is kind of the intro to harp guitar and how I use it. It's really good for you to get your mind thinking differently. So yeah, it's really hip. Okay, so these are Rees levers, and I put these in. And I'm gonna show some pictures how I put these in. And I put masking tape, and you have to leave the strings on while you do it to where you're seeing what you're doing and how it's going to react to the string. But basically these posts go in off in this direction, which will be up toward the ceiling, and that's going to put tension on your string, and then that post goes down into the headstock to sharpen the string and up to lessen the string. So that is your fine tuner in essence. And then when the lever is pulled up, it's activated. So when I push it down, it goes back to a floating string. So now the string is floating to hit the post. So now this has got to be in tune here at the tuner. Now, to get your raised note in tune, you have to move the post up or down. And basically, there is a article about this. You got to be sharp, and it's on Gregg Miner's Harp Guitar site. And there's a doctor that gave a really detailed description about the process. And his wife also owns a regular harp. And they have these fine tuners, so he kind of could look at that and get an idea about what he's doing. And he had several pictures, and that was very helpful for me. I do have some woodworking experience. Now, I will say that they spaced this tuner out. This was the first batch of Timberline harp guitars. They spaced this tuner out a little further north than I think they should. And that kind of throws the string spacing off a little bit here, because I snapped a line and came off a 1/2 inch and then went up to 7/8 of an inch. So I followed an angle where it's basically an angle coming off of the tuner, and I came at the same degree off of the tuner for the post. And then I basically slid these levers in here and measured them as well. And it turned out really great, and it functions really great. So if you're OCD and you have a string spacing like this, just don't look at it. But, it was already done when I got it. So it wasn't as noticeable before I put the levers in, but now that I wanted to keep everything in a straight uniform line, because I wanted to have my work in a straight uniform line and correct, I kind of had to split the difference. But it works great. And so, you can come up with some really cool ideas. So now, pretty quick, right? All right, so if I'm in the key of E, my dog loves to be serenaded. If you're ever sharp and you use a capo, barely pull the string, and that sharpness, you'll pull the slack back in it. That one's sharp, a little too sharp to pull. So that's just an improv thing I did in E. And it's good to improv and get your mind working. But now these all work in the key of E. So it's E, F sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp. You can get a nice leading tone up to the 5. There's a Lydian right there, that was cool. Yeah, so these levers really open up the possibilities. Now, these levers are new. I just installed them not too long ago. So you have to fine tune them. And these are brand new strings, bass strings. So they're kind of stretching a little bit still. So I find myself, when I'm going back and forth with the levers, let's see. They're holding now, but every now and then I will have to fine tune it, and that's easy. So I put a 4mm bit on this, and you just put it right here on the post, and you just turn it just a little bit. So if you want the string, the raised string, to be sharper, you turn it clockwise and put the post further down into the neck, which pulls the string. Because when you're pulling the string, it's cantilevered on the lever. So you're pulling more tension down over the cantilevered lever. Now, that shouldn't affect the open string as much because it's pretty much floating in space. All right, so now what I did was I just went to D. So now I'm in D. So now that's D, C sharp, B, and then A, and there's F sharp, so that's the third in the bass, and there's 2. Now if I wanted to have a 4 in the bass, I just flip a lever. So it's that easy. Now if I wanted that leading tone, the F sharp, I could do that. And then I got my 4 here, my thumb. So it just depends on the arrangement, like where you want your voicings, where you want your leading tones, if you're doing any sort of walk up to a chord. So that's how you have to start thinking, and it's very musical to think that way. You're thinking ahead, and that's what music's all about. You gotta think ahead, right? So that is pretty much kind of an intro to harp guitar. I have K&K pickups in this. So I have one under each, and I have a stereo jack, and they go out, and then I can EQ them both a little bit, and I can put, you know, like a crossover, and it just sends different signals, and I can, you know, if I'm playing and it's loud with a monitor and I'm getting feedback, I can flip them out of phase, or flip one out of phase, and the other one can stay. Sometimes that helps. Around 62 hertz, things get squirrely. And typically I try and take out 80 to 90 hertz. It depends on the monitoring situation in the room. So, you know, that's pretty much it. And I like the K&Ks. You need a decent preamp. They typically like the 1 mega ohm for the impedance. So like a LR Bags, anything like that, a Fishman system, that tends to work. K&K has their own preamps, and those work great. The Pure preamps, those are great. So that's basically, you know, a very quick little rundown on the harp guitar. And maybe I did it out of order a little bit. But, you know, a lot of people ask me, what is that weird thing hanging over in the corner? It's usually over in the corner. And it's a lot of fun because it makes you think as an arranger, as an arrangement making machine. And that's anything that makes you think about music and think ahead, that's good. You know, sometimes you want to just create with music, but it's also good to work that different side of your brain. I'm not going to lie, it's going to take a minute to get this stuff under your hands and grab those bass notes and move your position. People that like to strum, I don't know how you can play the harp guitar using a flat pick. I don't think it's, I don't think you're going to get what you're hearing in your head doing that. Some people say don't use a thumb pick. Jamie Dupuis seems to not have a problem with it, so he does great. I can't play with a, you know, most of these guys have proper classical technique where they're turning their hand in, and that helps bridge that gap. So if you have proper technique, like a classical guy, you're already ahead of the game. Like a chicken picker, a Chet Atkins guy, a Tommy Emmanuel, Jerry Reed guy, I struggled a little bit because my hand is leading, my thumb is leading. So, you know, just think about that. At least knowing that out of the gate, you might be able to address something or find a workaround. But it took me a minute. You know, it's an intimidating instrument when you first get it, but it works, and it makes you think, and it sounds awesome. And I think everybody should try one for sure. So thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day.